The Albuquerque Journal published a cartoon this week that's causing a lot of controversy. It features two white people. They appear to be middle-aged who are being robbed. Now, one of the criminals has MS-13 on his jacket. That's a notorious gang with international connections, with a presence here in New Mexico, as a matter of fact. The man in the cartoon says, quote, "Now, honey, I believe they prefer to be called dreamers or future Democrats," end quote. New Mexico Senators Tom Udall and Martin Heinrich have criticized the cartoon, and they've been joined by other local leaders. Our line panelists are in the studio for this week's show, and we asked them to weigh in on this issue. And Rachel, I'll start with you. We appreciate the difficulty that editors do have sometimes in choosing things. As Karen Moses at the Journal and Deval Westfall mentioned in their response to the controversy, we do want to highlight both sides of certain issues. But sometimes cartoons have a certain power that words and text do not. And it just really rang a lot of folks the wrong way here completely, particularly, how we are here in New Mexico. It's a fairly, democratic city that we're living in right now. It's a difficulty. Talk about that difficulty about making choices, and then how the cartoon struck you as well.
It is how the cartoon struck me was racist.
Right.
And the editor's response to these concerns, they said, we saw the cartoon as the people in the cartoon saying some of the things that get said in our society. That's not how it read to me.
Right.
And what I wonder is, did any people of color look at that page before it went out? I don't know if that would have made a difference. That doesn't automatically make a difference, but having diverse perspectives before you put out the work, the piece, the cartoon, can help just get some different people thinking, how is this going to look to people? How are people going to feel when they see this?
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. Michael, your thoughts on this? When it first struck you, what was your immediate gut reaction when you saw that cartoon?
It's racist.
Yeah.
I think it's pandering to a certain segment of the population. And I guess to your point, it'd be interesting to know if the editorial board or the staff of the Journal actually reflects any diversity at all, specific to the community at large here, Hispanic, Native American, and I think I feel comfortable saying I think not.
Right.
Because again, if someone else would have had the opportunity to look at it, they would and felt free to be able to speak their piece, they would have said, this is really not appropriate and volatile.
Right. Right. Newsroom diversity is a big issue, and that's a big part of it as well. Tom, we should make a distinction here that cartoon was not made by somebody local. It was somebody out of state, and it's a syndicated cartoonist who has had some some issues in his background with these kind of cartoons as well. Your immediate response when you saw that cartoon?
It falls into the category of just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right. With media, really, as we were talking about on this week's episode, playing to the edges more and stuff. You have, it's either you like Rachel Maddow or you're Shepard Smith.
Right.
You're at MSNBC or Fox News. And so, unfortunately, I think the Albuquerque Journal, which has a tendency of being more business friendly, which is associated with being conservative, I think that they missed an opportunity to really play to that middle ground and instead played to those edges like we've seen happen at the national level.
And Vic, sometimes these things can come down to one or two persons' decision making. And I appreciate what this side of the table mentioned, that there has to be a better look at these things. Linda Lopez put out a statement from Senate Democrats, as a matter of fact, really coming down hard on this too. It doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon.
No.
And this is what can really ding a news organization. Just one thing like this, and that's how volatile these times are, aren't they? It's very tricky right now.
It is tricky, and it was a terrible cartoon.
Right.
I can't imagine anybody. I feel sorry for the guy who wasted his time putting that junk together.
Right.
I mean, it was a terrible cartoon. It was racist. It was inflammatory.
Right.
It's pandering, as everybody has said, to a far segment. To throw more fire on the immigration issue. And it's not even an immigration issue. These are dreamers. These are kids who came to this country and this is all they've ever known.
That's right.
I mean, the lack of compassion or caring. I mean, we talked about our community in this week's segment. I mean, that's our community. And I just think that it was was a horrible idea, and I can't imagine anybody thinking that it was anything other than racist.
You know, interesting when you think about it, you can't get a DACA waiver if you're a criminal. You know what I mean? You can't. I mean, so I'm not quite sure what this cartoon's trying to say, that you know, it feeds into some perception that all DACA people are somehow on the edge of being a criminal, or they are criminals already. And Michael, there's something about that that's very, very, it's insidious in the culture, because I'm worried about the people who agree with that cartoon, who find it somehow validation of what they've been feeling all along. Is there a danger there with this kind of a thing?
Well, I think there's always a danger for, this is just one example in a whole history of people utilizing this approach, be it for American Indians, be it for African Americans, be it for anyone who's the other.
Right.
I would remind people, when we're talking about immigration, for some of us, immigration started in 1492. And if you weren't here before that, you're an immigrant.
Right.
Exactly.
And I want to see your papers.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And many good things have happened, but in terms of the history of this country, there's also been a lot of grief, a lot of sorrow, and a lot of pain in the history of this nation. And it's not just about Native Americans, it's about many populations and many people who've made this nation. And to now say we're going to exclude this, or we're going to marginalize this population, we're going to criminalize this population. There's plenty of people we can look at, plenty of populations that all have some history of things that they might not be proud of. And this seems to be just so unfair to pull out this segment. I mean, don't get me started.
Right. I hear you, brother. We hear you. Absolutely. We're going to try and follow up on this next week with some folks, and we'll see how that goes. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think of this cartoon? Leave us a comment on Facebook, or go to NewMexicoInFocus.org to get in touch with us and share your thoughts.